Hi, hello. This is LaVerne Brown. I'm an ODU counselor for financial aid, and I'm here today to educate you more about completing your FAFSA and applying for financial aid. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Someone will be answering them. If your question does not get answered periodically through the chat, we will discuss it at the end of the presentation. So let me share my screen with you. There we go. Okay, so paying for college, and again, I'm LaVerne Brown. I'm a financial aid counselor, and you can reach me at area code 757-683-3683. So FAFSA applications for the 2022-2023 school year opened on October 1st, and they start October 1st every year. Old Dominion's priority consideration deadline, priority filing date is January 1st. So you want to file your FAFSA as early as possible. So anytime between October 1st and January 1st, you want to try to fit in that window because our grant funds are awarded on a first come, first served basis. So you want to be able to be considered for some of the free money as well. There are several ways that you can file your FAFSA. The first way is the FAFSA on the web. Then we have the mobile app that you can file it from your phone. There's also the paper version. And now new to the system is a phone version. I don't have much information on that because that just came out this year. So the benefits of using the FAFSA on the web is it's more timely of your original application. You can make corrections. You can check the status of your FAFSA online. It gives you more details, instructions, and there's a help field that will help you along the way if you have questions. And it simplified the application process for the future. So the easiest way to do it is online, of course. When you file your FAFSA online, you will receive a confirmation that it's been done. That confirmation is coming from the Department of Education. So you complete it online, it goes to the Department of Education, they send you a confirmation that it's been done, but it takes about 2 weeks for Old Dominion to receive it when we start processing them. So this is what it looks like when you're filing on the web. If you've never done this before, you're going to studentaid.gov and you would click on apply for aid. If this would be your first time completing the FAFSA, you would be a new FAFSA process and you would start here. If you're a returning user, then you would already have an FSA ID number and you would log in here. It's very easy, and again, is found at studentaid.gov. So the tips in using the FAFSA, and the easiest way to do this is to use the data retrieval tool. So the data retrieval tool pulls the information from your tax returns that were filed with the IRS. So for the 2022-2023 year, it will be requesting tax information from your 2020 tax returns. If you're a dependent student, it will be requesting yours if you work and your parents. So this information is imported directly from IRS. It avoids leaving, you want to avoid leaving any fields blank. So even if you have to fill them with zeros, please do so. Ensure that your name, your identification number, and your social security number is correct. If either of these are off, then it will kick your FAFSA out as a reject. So you want to make sure that everything matches. You want to make sure that you include ODU's FAFSA identification number. The school code is 003728. Now, when you file in the FAFSA, you can send it to several different schools. If you are considering Old Dominion and another school, please make sure you include the school code. Otherwise, we won't receive the FAFSA. Remember that your parent must also sign the FAFSA as well as you if you are a dependent student. So you're going to log in. This would be you if you're completing it because you are the student. Your parent could also complete the FAFSA or start the FAFSA for you, as well as if you have a associate, a prepare, such as if a school guidance counselor or someone like that is assisting you. They can also log in to help you start the FAFSA. Again, it is required that you sign it as well as your parents. So when your parents sign it, they will establish their own FAFSA ID so that their signature can be included. So the IRS Data Retrieval tool, I can't express this enough to try to use that if possible. It allows for certain tax return information to be transferred from the IRS database. Participation is voluntary, and student chooses whether to transfer the data or enter it on their own. Entering it on your own, you leave room for errors. Transferring it from the IRS, the information is coming directly from them. The IRS will also authenticate taxpayers' identity. If the tax record is found, IRS transfers the information and populates it onto your FAFSA. This reduces documents requested by the financial aid office. There is something that the Department of Education has, which is called verification. And if you're selecting for verification, then additional documentation may be required, such as your IRS tax information, which would have to be retrieved directly from IRS. So if you use the data retrieval tool, we'll already have that information. So things like that could be waived and lessen the time for your verification process. Student dependency status. FAFSA asks questions to determine dependency status. And this is not an IRS thing. So you will be considered dependent if you don't meet the criteria as being independent, such as there are several questions that you must answer, such as your age, if you have dependent children, if you're married, things like that. If you're answering no to all of the questions, then you are a dependent student. Conditions exist for special circumstances. So when you're completing the FAFSA, and if you have a special circumstance, I know that the FAFSA tells you to send information into the financial aid office. I highly suggest that you wait until your FAFSA has been processed by the financial aid office before you send in any documentation. That way you'll know exactly what's needed and it can be matched to your FAFSA information. So the college, we will review your FAFSA when it is processed to determine if there's any additional information that's required. Okay, so the institutional student information record, which is called the ICER, CPS sends results to the colleges listed on the FAFSA. So this is what the ICER looks like, and the information is transported from the FAFSA. College reviews the ICER and may request additional documentation. Remember, I mentioned about verification. That's when we would, that's one situation where we would request additional information. Or let's say you answer yes to one of the questions that would possibly make you independent. Additional documentation may be required for that. Email notification of the SAR processing. If a valid email address is provided on your FAFSA, then you would receive a SAR telling you that the FAFSA has been completed. It gives you the application date. It gives you what your expected family contribution is. So it gives you a lot of information that it is calculated and based on your FAFSA. This provides access to, this is an electronic SAR, which you would receive again, when you process your FAFSA, this is coming directly from the Department of Education when you first process it. Signatures are always required. If you're a dependent student, then your signature as well as at least one parent's signature is required. If you're an independent student, then it is just your signature that's required. Format for submitting signatures are electronic using the FAFSA ID. You can also do it on the paper form, which is a signature page from the FAFSA. Special circumstances. These are just a few things that could be considered special circumstances. If a parent or a spouse, their death since the tax returns were filed, or unusual uncovered medical dental expenses, the loss of income or employment, extraordinary dependent care, divorce, student cannot obtain parental information, secondary school tuition. Okay. So these special circumstances, again, may require additional documentation. And if one of these applies, you would just contact the financial aid office to determine what information is required. Frequent FAFSA errors, Social Security numbers, divorce, widowed, remarried, parental information, income earned by a parent or step-parent, untaxed income, U.S. income taxes paid, household size, number of household members in college, real estate and investment network. So make sure your Social Security number is correct. The FAFSA is looking for the information as of the day that you're filing the FAFSA. So if you are, or your parent has remarried, but they weren't married in 2020, which is the year that the tax information they're asking, but they're married now, your step-parent's information needs to be included on the FAFSA. Household sizes is the number of people located in the household, the number of people in college, those things. And there's a great explanation on there. It tells you, whether you live with your parent or not. If you're a dependent student, you are including the number of people in their household. So it may be a situation where you moved out and you're living on your own, but you don't meet the independent criteria, such as being age 24 or in the military or having dependent children. So you would include your parents' information as well as their household information. Here's a sample of an award letter. So this is what you will receive once we process your FAFSA. And you see there's an estimated cost of attendance. So these numbers are not necessarily what it's going to cost you to attend Old Dominion. This is an estimate based on full-time enrollment, room and board, food, transportation, things like that. That also does not mean that if you're not living on campus that you're being charged for room and board. Again, this is just an estimate. Then you will see your estimated financial aid. So you see the state grants, the federal grants first, the Pell Grant and the SEOG. And then we have the state grants, which are the VGAP grant or the Commonwealth. You also will see any scholarships that you've been awarded and with a total. If you have work study is when you obtain an on-campus job. Your work study award does not disperse and apply to your account balance like the rest of your aid does. The work study, you would work and receive a paycheck based on the number of hours that you work every week or every 2 weeks. If you're interested in work study, you must answer that question yes on your FAFSA in order to receive it. If you have additional resources, that will also show on your award letter. And then we have the federal direct loans. So we have the unsubsidized loan and the subsidized loan. The difference between the two is the subsidized loan does not accrue interest, whereas the unsubsidized loan does. However, they're both deferred until 6 months after graduation, or if you become less than half-time enrolled, or you just stop going to school altogether. The loan amount is determined based on your grade level. So for a dependent student, the maximum that they can receive is $5,500 for a dependent, $6,500 for sophomores, $7,500 for juniors and seniors. Independent students can get up to $12,500 for juniors and seniors, $10,500 for sophomores, and $9,500 for freshmen. The Department of Education is the largest source of financial aid. Aid awarded primarily based on financial need, must apply every year using the financial aid application or the FAFSA. No FAFSA, no financial aid. Please keep that in mind. You must file a FAFSA in order to be considered for any type of federal financial aid funds. Common federal aid programs are the Pell Grant, which is need-based, the federal SEOG grant, which is exceptional financial need-based as well, and work study, again, on campus, employment, which is also need-based. And when I say need-based, that means that you have to show a need. So if the slide previously that showed the cost of attendance at $28,000, and let's say that your parents, your expected family contribution is $25,000, you don't really have a need for the need-based grants. There is a calculation that must be done for that. Scholarships and grants, financial aid that doesn't have to be repaid. State grants have residency requirements. They're state grants, so you have to be an in-state student in the state of Virginia. Awarded aid based on merit and need. FAFSA need to be submitted to qualify. Again, always, not all scholarships, but most grants and scholarships, you have to have a FAFSA to qualify to show your need. Institutional scholarships. Entering freshmen are automatically considered for eligibility. Continuing students must fill out the scholarship form to report new information not captured at the time of admission. So the admissions department reviews all incoming freshmen for any merit-based scholarships. Continuing students can find the scholarship form on the ODU website, which can be completed and turned into financial aid. Okay, so that's the end of our presentation. And did we have any questions? Let's see. What amount of graduate students eligible for? Graduate students are eligible for the unsubsidized loan in the amount of $20,500. I see Ms. Hinton has answered that. Let's stop the share. Okay. Looks like all the questions have been answered that were included in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions? One other thing that I want to mention is the satisfactory academic progress, which is another determination as to whether or not you're eligible for financial aid. And the requirements for that is, as an undergraduate, you must maintain at least a 2.0 GPA and complete or pass at least 67% of your total cumulative attempted credit hours. And that does include transfer credits. and you cannot exceed 180 attempted credit hours. For graduate students, you must maintain at least a 3.0 GPA, and you must earn at least 80% of your total cumulative attempted credit hours, and you cannot exceed 90 credit hours. Where can you find school codes for the FAFSA? You can find them either on our website, odu.edu, or when you're completing the FAFSA, there is a link that will give you a list of the school codes. All right, do we have any other questions?
I had a question.
Yes.
Is there anywhere on campus that like I would be able to get assistance on filling out my FAFSA form for like this coming semester, or well 2022 and 2023?
No, there's financial aid cannot assist you in completing the FAFSA. If you have questions, the FAFSA, there is a helpline as well as a chat room when you're doing the FAFSA itself. So if you have questions, you can utilize that when you're in studentaid.gov.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So remember, the FAFSA for the 2022-2023 8 year is available to be completed. And be careful when you're out there completing it, because the 21-22 FAFSA is also still available. So you want to make sure that you're completing the correct FAFSA. You want to make sure that you complete it, if possible, before January 1st, so that you can meet the priority filing deadline date.